A New York appeals court has thrown out the massive civil fraud penalty against President Donald Trump. The president was found guilty last year by Judge Arthur Ungeron of flagrantly padding financial statements. He was ordered to pay $355 million as a penalty, which is over $500 million right now with interest. But today, a New York appeals panel ruled that penalty excessive and tossed it out, saying that it violated the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Compagno, and joining us today, Shannon Bream, Fox News Sunday anchor and Fox News chief legal correspondent, Lisa Booth, Fox News political analyst, Dr. Nicole Saphier, Fox News contributor and board-certified physician, and Joe Concha, Fox News contributor. All right. Legal Eagle, Shannon!
Oh, my goodness.
Break this
Shannon's here today.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So break this down for us.
What was so interesting to me is we've been waiting on this for months. Remember, this came out, it went on appeal, and we kept thinking, I would check every once in a while, like, did I miss something? We are still waiting on this decision. So today, essentially, there were all of these fractured decisions and opinions, but what the court agreed on, bottom line, is that massive judgment is out of here for now. But they also kind of smoothed the way for this to go to the next appeal. In New York State, it's interesting that the Supreme Court here is not what you think of as the state's highest court. It's the mid-level. So there's still another level for this case to go. But essentially, though there was disagreement about the overall liability for President Trump, they agreed that this penalty was excessive, cannot stand, and so a big win for him today.
So to clarify, reviewers then, would the president be appealing the two things that wasn't ruled on today, which would be the Supreme Court, like the analysis that they conducted was indeed sound, and then also the liable verdict in and of itself? So is that what the president would appeal? That's
my impression, based on this very fractured opinion, multiple opinions, concurrences, dissents. It looks like they're opening the gateway so that they can get ready to go. There was some disagreement about some of the conclusions, and some of the justices said, we'll agree with this underlying thing so you can move it to the next level. So they want to see it expedited. But to my understanding, it's the liability issue and also the issue of the penalty itself.
Joe Concha, talk to us about the messaging this sends. At the time, this verdict was obviously lauded by the demented libs who think that there's, no end to the takedown and what comprises that. But the reality is that there's very strong precedent for excessive fines being held unconstitutional, and certainly many in the banking industry. So for those of us that dare to have an objective eye, that was immediately obviously excessive.
Absolutely.
So what message does this send to those libs?
It's just another narrative that has died once again on the vine. I think Lisa knows this, being a Palm Beach resident. What do you think 58-bedroom estate owned by a president is worth on the water in Palm Beach? 18 million, like Judge Ungeron seemed to argue, or I don't know, probably closer to $1 billion. So this was ridiculous. I'm not a legal eagle like Shannon or you, Emily, but Judge Ungeron, just as a guy sitting on the couch observing this, as a mother who used to work in real estate and was quite good at it, this guy should be disbarred. And Letitia James, she is going to have karma coming to her, because to bring this case was a whole bowl of wrong, and everybody knew it.
So we've seen that this sort of everything is falling apart. Yes, this weaponized and very organized attack on the president through these legal avenues, one by one, has been dismantled. Will this, do you think, lead to finally a cessation of that? Or do you think there's no end to the attempts on the president's peace?
Well, yeah, it's just another point in President Trump's column of a witch hunt against him. And I think all of this was actually the undoing of the Democrat Party in the 2024 election cycle. Because if you go back to 2020, Joe Biden launched his campaign on decency, on the soul of America, about democracy, that President Trump was a threat to democracy. And then I think people saw all these cases against him, particularly this, when you have Jonathan Turley at the time saying that, look, the real estate market, people typically do this. They overvalue, they undervalue assets. There were no victims in this case. So I think you had reasonable-minded people being like, I don't know, this seems pretty unfair against President Trump. This kind of seems like a witch hunt against him. And then you had the assassination attempt. And then I think the wool kind of came, released from people's eyes, because they realized that, no, the Democrats are the threat to democracy. They're the ones who are weaponizing the system against him. So it totally undermined their entire point, the only point they had heading into the 2024 election cycle. So, and then now the irony of it is obviously we had a judge that was biased because he had previously donated to Democrats. And then you had Letitia James, who is now finding herself in hot water, potentially with mortgage fraud. So, you know, it's the joke's on them because this is just going to continue President Trump's, rise.
Doctor, the president the entire time, as he was the defendant in so many of these, he kept saying it's me now, but it's you next. And the American people saw that, and it resonated with them that he had the means to defend, to fight, but he was certainly representing what could happen had the tables turned a different direction last year's election.
Well, it was certainly a pivotal moment for Americans everywhere when Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI. And I think it really got a lot of people's attention. And I think that this recent ruling, thankfully, I have two attorneys on the couch to talk about this. But I also listened to Kevin O'Leary during that time, also saying that this happens all the time. He kind of made me feel that what these charges were, they were probably politically motivated and they were excessive. And that's what they are ruling right now. And that is in line with the American people's opinion of this. I mean, if you looked at polling leading up to the 2024 election, they essentially said that not just Republicans, but independents as well, regardless of the outcome of these civil cases, it was not changing their votes. And so the American people believed that it was politically motivated, believed that these fines were excessive, and this falls in line with that.
President himself has weighed in on Truth Social. He says it was a political witch hunt in a business sense, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. This was a case of election interference by the city and state trying to show illegally that I did things that were wrong, when in fact, everything I did was absolutely correct and even perfect. Every single dollar, he says, was thrown out, even the penalties imposed on us by the corrupt judge, one of the most overturned in history, Arthur Engoron. Shannon, your thoughts on the president's weighing in?
Well, you know, it's interesting because in one of the dissenting opinions as part of this, they talked about the fact that it looked in a lot of ways political. It did. And when you have an attorney general who had essentially been campaigning on the fact that I'm going to get President Trump at some point, I'm going to go after him, at least one of the judges in this case felt like there was definitely that political tinge to it. I'm sure the president feels completely vindicated. We've waited so long for this decision. And I think that you're right, Lisa, when you talk about these political and legal attacks that really tied him up during the campaign, it did for a lot of people. Like he said when he was asked before that first indictment, if you're indicted, will you get out of the race? And he's like, no, I think this is actually going to work for me and make me more popular. He had this sense of reading how people would perceive this, and he was right.
I mean, the mugshot became like a phenomenon.
We got to the convention, and remember, there were mugs and T-shirts and hats and all kinds of people with that mugshot saying, like, this is my guy. So the merch part of it definitely, the merch worked.
And as he says, a great win for America. You know, when you know you're innocent, you said, yeah, I know. I've expected this the whole time. It's everyone else that may be a surprise, but he certainly is the one that is not surprised and, to your point, feels vindicated, and rightly so. Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.